Okay, and so just as a reminder, we are in the platform stream, moving into our third speaker now. My name's Rebecca McDonald. I'm your MC, and I look after the basically the people operations for our core business operations team in Deloitte. So I'd now like to introduce Vishal Ghariwala. Vishal joins us from Singapore. He is the CTO for Asia Pacific, Japan, and Greater China with SUSE Software. Vishal enjoys helping enterprises traverse their digital transformation journey using open source technology and platforms. He's also an avid traveler and has visited over 70 cities and 30 countries. And when permitted, he loves to capture his adventures on a DJI drone. Just checking, it sounds like we have a little bit of feedback here. So just want to make sure, how can people hear that okay? Or is it just jump into the chat and let us know? Is that sounding better? There's still a bit of feedback. Okay, that's sounding better. Okay, so thanks so much, Vishal. As a highly sought after speaker, we're really thrilled to have you this afternoon. And he's going to be presenting on building an agile foundation for your enterprise APIs with SUSE Rancher and Kubernetes. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Rebecca, and a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone who is attending this fantastic conference. I've really enjoyed some of the previous sessions that I have had a chance to view yesterday as well as today, so it's fantastic. And I'm very excited to spend the next 20 odd minutes to talk to you about how enterprises can build an agile foundation for their enterprise APIs with SUSE Rancher and Kubernetes. So apart from the quick introduction that Rebecca kindly provided, I wanted to share a bit more. I've been in this space of APIs for quite a while, and I've worked in a lot of companies in the past, companies such as IBM, companies like Red Hat, and also in my early years with the public sector, and I had a lot of opportunities to work with a lot of early API related technologies from the days of SOAP, XML, as well as to modern REST based APIs. So very passionate about this topic. And let me just quickly start off today's presentation and talk about the history of APIs. Now, while API, the term, it has been flying around quite a bit over the past, I would say, decade. But they have been technically around for a very long time, albeit in different shapes and forms. Now, if we look at the, from 1960 to 1980s, when we talk about mainframes and mini computers, APIs enable distributed transaction processing outside of the organization, so that things like ATMs that were invented back then were able to enable things like when you swipe a credit card at a point of sale, you were able to have such things possible. So that enabled much greater facilitation of how you put your cash in the hands of consumers and enable them to make purchases more quickly. And that created a lot of revenue opportunity for your banking retailers as well as your B2C organization. A classic example of API economy in action. Then, if you fast forward, right, 10 years after that to the 90s, it was all about client server and distributed computing and how we bring computing to the front office and empowering all the countless front office use cases. And during this time, SQL became a standard. It became a very common API for enabling your application developers to get access to data. And then you also had Corba and other distributed standards, distributed computing standards that really enable the proliferation of innovation in client server computing. Now, if we fast forward furthermore, let's move to the 2000s, right? This is the age of internet and World Wide Web. And here we saw the rise of APIs. Now, these were really APIs that were built using XML technologies, SOAP-based web services running over HTTP. And we saw a lot of new revenue models being created. It enabled B2B over the internet, as well as the rise in e-commerce. And that was predominantly due to websites such as eBay and Amazon. Then let's just move to the, a decade ago, 2010 and onwards. This is the age, the dawn of social mobile analytics, big data, public cloud. And this is where we started seeing the emergence of new startups. And these are startups such as Uber, Airbnb, and they later went on to become poster childs for digital transformation. Now, we all know that companies like Uber and Airbnb heavily rely on APIs to provide differentiated value to their customers. And today, when we talk about today, right, today, 2020, we are really talking about APIs in a whole new context. We are talking about APIs that can help you power your sensors. APIs are driving industry initiatives in banking, for example, open banking, PSD2. In telco, we have TM Forum APIs. And we are also looking at APIs for constrained resource environments, edge environments, how APIs can power those type of use cases. So you can see that APIs are not new. However, one thing is very, very clear, and that is that they have evolved progressively over the decades. And so let's look at some of the technology trends of today and see how APIs will continue to evolve, over the next couple of years. Now, one thing that is very, very certain that is going to change a lot of things is the rapid adoption of cloud and containers. And what I am really seeing in the market out there is that customers today have a very, very clear adoption plan for using cloud and adopting a hybrid cloud architecture, and incorporating multi-cloud as part of their strategy. And I mean, I have some data points here from Flexera, from their survey, which very, very clearly highlights that today hybrid cloud is a norm. Public cloud, multi-cloud, it's also something that is at the top of the agendas of a lot of the companies, a lot of the multinationals. And we know why all of them are embracing that, for benefits such as cost effectiveness, flexibility, resilience, and the avoidance of vendor lock-in. This gives them a lot of digital resilience. And the past 1 year is just testament to the fact that how cloud really, really enabled customers to still continue their business despite of the global lockdown. So this is a major, major trend that we see. And this trend also leads me to something else, which is in a way related. When we talk about the API world today, there is this notion and this preference for customers to mix and match their API technologies, their API gateways, as well as their API portals. And API management vendors naturally, right, when you look at vendors, they naturally want all of their customers to use their solution exclusively. But we have seen that companies have differing reasons why they want to mix and match API management solutions like the gateways or the developer portals. It could be due to a lot of reasons. One, it could be how LOBs in companies are structured. So if you look at a bank, your risk management team will have their own funding compared to the retail banking, compared to the wholesale banking and private banking. And they have their own fundings and they decide what technologies to invest in. And you can technically have multiple API management solutions running in a bank. Or it could be also depending on the gateway that is available to them from their preferred vendor. Their cloud vendor could have a particular gateway and they would want to go with them, right? And some companies even deliberately choose different solutions because they want to hedge their risk and avoid the situation of having a vendor lock-in. So herein lies the challenge, right? How do you integrate all of these gateways on the cloud with your existing gateways, especially when you consider how different underlying compute infrastructures can be, right? So solutions and strategies will then be required to ensure that despite using differing API offerings, your customers can still retain the agility and flexibility that API technology are employed to provide. So how do you go about doing that? So this is another trend, right? And then there's also something as the notion of being able to flexibly deploy your APIs anywhere and everywhere. And this chart that you see here on the screen is a Google Cloud State of the API Economy 2021 report. And when respondents were asked about future technologies, future areas of technologies, technology focus and investment, 50% said that there will be an increase in hybrid cloud adoption for API deployment. And APIs serve a variety of use cases, right? From connecting internal applications to also enabling your digital ecosystem strategies. So it is no surprise that many organizations are choosing to leverage a mix of on-premises and cloud infrastructure to host all of the APIs that they will be building. Now, there are some companies who will obviously need to keep all their data close to home, but there are many companies that are also well positioned to take advantage of the benefits that the cloud can bring. Some of these companies have chosen not to bring up any servers and exist only in the cloud. And some have traditionally stored their data and applications in their own servers, but they also want to have the ability, as and when they need, they could scale up using the cloud. And maybe because of different business units or branches, they need to coexist in clouds provided by different vendors. Therefore, we need to have this modern approach, a modern API management approach, to cater to all of these differing use cases, to support a hybrid deployment for a combination of on-premises and multi-cloud data centers. Now, in short, APIs do not exclusively have to live on premises or in the cloud. Real world APIs depend on many underlying footprints, and they can technically be running anywhere there is a compute infrastructure, right? So let us now spend some time also looking at how APIs are driving some new solutions and some new technologies to support some of the trends that we see. And a lot of these things are not new. A lot of you would have seen this, but I'm presenting this in the context of APIs. So there is this notion that everything should exist as a service, and this has really driven uh, companies to move away from traditional monolithic architectures to microservices architectures. Now, what this obviously means is that as we break down those applications or we build microservices, there's going to be many more services, and that means more API service endpoints. So that is why we today see API management solutions becoming very popular. In addition to that, inter-service microservice communication, which is facilitated by service mesh solutions, that's also becoming very, very popular. Second business need that we see is there's a change in customer demands. Customers want everything to be done yesterday. And that is why we see the rapid move from waterfall to agile to DevOps and CI/CD based solutions, so that customers can increase the deployment frequency and reduce the duration from ideation to production. We also see a great need for scalable solutions. And scalability today, it's not just about how your APIs can be are able to handle more requests when you have seasonal surges. It's also the ability for you to scale to another infrastructure, to another region, and could be in another geo, on the cloud or on the edge. Now, this will obviously present a different type of a challenge. That is, when you have such a distributed and heterogeneous architecture, how are you going to manage it? How are you going to manage it centrally? So we need new solutions to cater to this type of a challenge. And finally, the final need around having agility and interoperability, and that is really driving the move from bare metal solutions to VMs and now to containers and Kubernetes. But then again, right, you will have a new challenge, because when we talk about mixed architectures, APIs residing everywhere, how do you then operate them in a simplified manner? So management becomes a complexity, and we need to relook at the way that you are able to manage the entire API management stack in a simplified manner, using simplified operations, types of solutions or tooling. So these are some of the different business needs, and how these business needs have created new architectural changes, new challenges, and also new solutions. What is really, really critical here is this red box that you see here. This is an area where today, when we look at the API landscape, we really do not have a solution. And I'm not talking about centralized management of APIs. I'm talking about centralized management of the infrastructure that will enable your APIs to run anywhere and everywhere using modern cloud native tooling, cloud native technologies, and likewise do it in a simplified manner from an operations angle. That is something that I'll be talking a bit more very shortly as well. So now that we have understood the needs, the challenges, the solutions, let's just paint out the entire cloud native ecosystem for your enterprise APIs. And I'd like to start off all the way from the bottom by talking about your compute infrastructure. your compute infrastructure needs to provide compute anywhere type of and capability, which means be it your data center, be it any of your major cloud providers or your edge environments, your applications that you're building, your cloud native applications, should be able to rely and leverage on this infrastructures very, very easily. And what is really supporting that, from a standardization and from an IT ops angle, it's basically Kubernetes that provides you all of the abstraction so that you do not have to worry about your underlying infrastructure. And Kubernetes promise is very simple. Once you have deployed, created a container that can run on a CNCF certified Kubernetes, you can literally run that container, that containerized microservice, anywhere Kubernetes runs, from your data center to the core, to the cloud, to the edge. And that is really, really, beautiful. And on top of Kubernetes, you obviously are going to build a lot of your microservices. And this is where service mesh has become very, very popular. All the inter-service, east-west type of communications that happen uh, within microservice, across all the microservices, that is really the uh, outsourced to your service mesh. And we have some uh, very popular solutions out there. Istio is very, very popular. We also have Linkerd. Now, on top of service mesh, once you have built all of your microservices, and the next step you want to now, API enable them. This is where you have the API management, domain that will provide you all the connectivity and governance, from metering to throttling, through providing with a developer API developer portal, also access management, the entire life cycle management for APIs. And I don't need to talk more about this. We have seen some fantastic presentations by a lot of cool vendors on what they are doing in the API management space. And then once your APIs are built, you can then build your end applications, your digital services that can be using one or more of these APIs, providing this digital service uh, to the digital channels. This could be your customers, your partners. It could even be other applications within your enterprise, or it could be some mobile applications that needs to use this. Now, this is the entire ecosystem of APIs. But one thing I want to point out here, I'm talking about cloud native ecosystem, which means in this whole diagram here, what is very, very central is Kubernetes. We are now talking about how to build your entire foundation so that it is leveraging Kubernetes. Because if you want to run your APIs anywhere, Kubernetes helps you do that. It was built, designed to do that, because Kubernetes is available everywhere today. So how do you then look at the entire landscape from the vantage point of Kubernetes? So in order to dig a bit further, I want to now spend a bit more time to talk about the stages of cloud native API development. And you might have seen different variations of this, but here my key point here is APIs in the context of cloud native. So first step obviously is you developing your API, and this is as simple as implementing your REST APIs based on your preferred programming language. That could be Java, JavaScript, Go, Node.js, so on and so forth. And then you will containerize your APIs, right? That is step one. Step two is you're going to deploy your API. You're going to deploy API as a containerized microservice on your preferred Kubernetes distribution. Step number three is that you will then manage your APIs. This is the API management piece. So how do you do security, access control, rate limiting, analytics, and so on and so forth with an API management platform? Once you have done that, you're going to publish it to an API developer portal so that external as well as internal consumers of your APIs will be able to access all of the API documentation and basically discover your APIs. And the last part is, finally, how do you consume it? How do you then deploy all of your managed APIs on an API gateway that can be invoked by your third-party applications, your customers and your partner applications, uh, how they can access your APIs through this API gateway. Now, if you look at this entire, set of stages, one thing becomes very apparent, and that is that from a cloud native angle, it's going to be driven very much by containers and Kubernetes. Kubernetes is across the stack, right? From API deployment to management to publishing to consumption. All of your solutions, be it your gateways, your ingress controllers, your the developer portal, they will need an underlying infrastructure based on Kubernetes, if they are going to be effectively running on all footprints everywhere and have the scalability that Kubernetes provides you with. Right now, herein lies another big challenge. Right, when you talk about Kubernetes everywhere, what is a big challenge? You can have Kubernetes from different vendors, like I talked about the mix and mesh scenario. You can have Kubernetes of different versions, and you can have Kubernetes that is running on premises, on the cloud, on the edge. How do you manage? So this is a key thing that we need to address. If you want to truly build an agile foundation for your APIs, you need to address this entire management piece for your Kubernetes layer, because until and unless you are able to do that, all the other capabilities that you get on top of it through your gateways, through your API management solutions, it will you will not be able to reap the benefits, because the core is still not being able to provide a lot of these capabilities in a centralized manner. In an ideal world, you should be able to perform all of this management of Kubernetes in a centralized manner from a single pane of glass, right? So let me show this in a pictorial manner, what this will really mean. So think about an enterprise, right? They have a data center, and they have a lot of this you see cubes, right? These cubes could be their microservice applications, it could be your cloud native API gateways, your ingress controllers, it could be your developer portal, and so on and so forth. And you want to adopt a hybrid cloud, you want to adopt an architecture that relies on hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, as well as edge. So what do? Well, you decide to run it on Kubernetes, and we all know that there are different distributions of Kubernetes. You have on-premises distributions, you have AKS, EKS, GKE provided by the cloud providers. You also have versions of Kubernetes that are specifically designed for edge environments, resource-constrained environments. So if you look at a vendor like SUSE has something called Rancher Kubernetes, K3S. It's Kubernetes designed for the edge. Now, what you then do is, all right, let's deploy all of our gateways, all over the place, right, on the cloud, on the edge, and so on and so forth. This is where things become challenging. Right? How do you manage, right? And what is even more challenging is when we talk about management, it's not just about monitoring. It's also about how do you manage the nodes? How do you manage your clusters? How do you spin up new clusters, spin down new clusters? And think about it. If you're using AWS, GCP, and Microsoft Azure, you need a lot of skilled resources. Now, wouldn't it be wonderful if there was a way to view and manage your entire heterogeneous infrastructure and manage them in a singular manner? Well, here is the good news. There is indeed a way, to do that. And how we do that is by using the solution from Souza Rancher, from SUSE, which is basically SUSE Rancher, right? So this is what is Rancher basically is our enterprise grade Kubernetes management platform, and it will allow your IT operations team to view, manage, and secure all of their existing Kubernetes clusters in a singular manner, no matter where those clusters are residing. So now you can easily leverage your entire hybrid, multi-cloud, and edge environments seamlessly without having to rely on deep expertise for your various cloud provider technologies. So we support full lifecycle management, and by the way, for AKS, EKS, and GKE. What does that mean? It means that you can perform node management, auto scaling, from a single pane of glass, including importing, provisioning, upgrading, configuring, and securing your clusters across all of the three providers directly using SUSE Rancher's intuitive UI. Now, think about developer happiness, operator happiness, API management, vendor happiness. Now, this is what SUSE Rancher really gives you. And besides that, you'll be also able to apply consistent policy, software updates, security fixes across all your environments and manage it, centrally. And this gets especially, important when we are talking about, you know, uh, use cases like edge computing, which can have tens or even hundreds of edge infrastructures that need to be, regularly updated. So this is really the benefit that SUSE Rancher provides you with for build when you want to build and architect your agile foundation for your, API management use cases. But the point to note is that SUSE Rancher is not just uh, helping you do that. It can be used to basically provide the same capabilities to any cloud native application that is running on Kubernetes, and that is really the beauty of that. So This is another slide represented in a different manner. I'll leave it with you. I've talked about it in my earlier slide, but if you look at the top layer, right, we have SUSE Rancher, and we can augment that with API management, and you can then have your gateways, your ingress controllers, your developer portal, all running and managed by SUSE Rancher centrally. So you have one UI to have visibility over your entire Kubernetes landscape, on top of which all your various API management solutions will be running. All right, let us now do a quick summary. So basically, to summarize, building an agile foundation for APIs, first of all, you need to ensure you're adopting a cloud native architecture for your API management as part of your API management landscape. You also need to ensure that your APIs will be able to work anywhere, deployed anywhere, run anywhere, and also your gateway should be likewise able to be run anywhere, public, private, hybrid, and edge environments. And you should also ensure that you have a way to manage everything in a unified manner, from your data center to the cloud, to the edge and beyond. And SUSE Rancher, that is a solution that can really help you gain the agility that you need to be successful in rolling your enterprise APIs within your enterprise and beyond. Right. So I'd also like to talk a bit about SUSE, the company. So SUSE, as a company, we have been around for a long time, 29 years of leadership. And what differentiates us from many companies is we are true open source company. We have been in the open source space for 29 years. SUSE Linux Enterprise, our flagship product, a lot of you may know that. But we recently acquired Rancher as well. And today our key and primary focus is cloud native app modernization and helping customers adopt hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, and edge. This is something we are spending a lot of time today. A lot of customers across the globe, vertical, literally all your vertical industries out there. And I think that brings me to my end, and I think I still have a couple more minutes, but I hope you found this session useful. And if you have any questions, Rebecca and team, let me know. I'm happy to take them.
Thank you so much, Vishal. All right, we do have some questions. The first one, in your presentation that you mentioned that we can set up our Kubernetes clusters for our API gateways on the public cloud providers. But how do you actually do that?
That's a fantastic question. I often get that because people will always ask that, hey, every cloud provider is different. So how does SUSE do that? Is it true, or is it just architecture? And well, it is true. And how we do that is that when you look at cloud providers, they themselves will provide you provisioning APIs. So these provisioning APIs encapsulate some of the common things that you want to do, through scripts, right? Like auto scaling your environment on your cloud provider, doing backup, doing upgrades. So what we have done is we have worked with all of the three major cloud providers, and we are using their provisioning APIs. So this is something that is a joint work between us and Google, Amazon, and Azure, and we are really doing a lot of engineering and integrating all of the APIs, and that's why you get that experience. Whatever you can do uh, with regards to managing Kubernetes, if you are in AWS, Azure, or Microsoft Azure, or Google Cloud, you can now do it using SUSE Rancher. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks, Vishal. I think so. And another question: can we use the Rancher Kubernetes distribution with other applications other than the API landscape that you mentioned?
Absolutely. Like I mentioned, Rancher is a general multi-purpose enterprise Kubernetes management platform. In short, if you are into cloud native, if you're into microservices, if you're into containers, if you're into hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, edge, and you want to have a singular unified way to manage this entire landscape, Rancher is the right tool for you.
Excellent. Well, I think that brings us to the end of the questions that we've got there. Vishal, thank you very much for your time this afternoon, and I do hope that you are back up and traveling again soon.
Thank you very much, Rebecca.